Hi, everyone. Welcome back. This is Anthony and Greg on Intelligence. I'm Anthony Moggio, and with me is Greg Prost. And we are going to now be diving deeper into Agentic AI in public services and all of the spaces in local government of how these agentic tools that can perform tasks automatically, or I'm going to use the new word automagically. It automagically does the new things.
I like that.
I know, I just invented this. This is not my new word. Heard it here first. On what that would look like in the public sector, because I think that's important, right? Public services, our governments, counties, local municipalities, villages, townships, all of those things really can get a lot of benefit out of that one.
Definitely. And as far as magic is concerned, I think there's a quote out there from somebody a while back, so it probably wasn't exactly on artificial intelligence, but you know it when you see it because it should be like magic. It should be magic to you what we're going to see here coming, like just blow people away, right? So it's probably a good term to use.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, so I dropped in some agentic AI into public space, asking for some ideas. First one was coming up with automated investment compliance agent. That's boring. Budget drafting, I think something like that would take a little bit more time. Public records and FOIA response agent. You want to try that one maybe?
Yeah, either one. Do you want to start with the
All right,
budget one, or do you want to start with...
Yeah, let's do the public records here.
Public
the FOIA
records?
response agent, because that's a pain in the neck for everybody. It's not something that everybody wants to have to do. So it's an agent that triages and drafts responses to public record requests FOIA, automatically redacting sensitive data, parses FOIA emails, drafts a proposed response, reduces backlog.
I could buy that. So let's...
how much time does that take you, Anthony? How often do you see a FOIA response?
We see them... it really depends on the time of the year and if it's an election cycle or not. So we get them pretty regularly. There's probably a few a week. And so there is time and effort spent on answering these requests. So for the listeners and viewers, so the FOIA, the Freedom from Information Act, that's essentially you can request documents from the government and they can't hide them from you intentionally. So they have to give you the information. So if you ask for the information, then you have to provide the information.
This is at the state level, because I'm not sure that's working at the federal level at the moment.
there's no offices open right now
Yeah, exactly.
to give FOIAs to.
We're not joking about that.
But so, all right, so you get these that come in. They typically run through the clerk's department. They're, for the most part in Michigan, clerks are the record keepers. So they're mostly always going to be the FOIA coordinators that are going to manage
And
that.
how would somebody know if somebody has a request, if they just... We can Google it ourselves, but is it just say you write to the clerk? Normally,
Yeah, every municipality has to have a process, and that for us, we'll take emails. We have an email FOIA.
But what
email.
if it just came to you? Oh, FOIA email.
Yeah,
But what if it just comes to you?
Yeah, you have to follow the process for
That's what I was
FOIA.
asking.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So if you can't just go ask the front desk person that, hey, I demand you give me this information right now, it has to go to the FOIA coordinator who's in charge of the records, because not every employee has any idea of the records, the rules, all the legal requirements around how long you have to respond, how the fees can or can't be structured. So that has to go to the FOIA coordinator, which is almost always the municipal clerk for that.
Okay.
That CVT, the city, village, township CVT, if you hear me say that. So that request would come in. So let's say I'm asking for these records. So the process kind of now is they're going to get that request and they're going to generically send it out to see if it's something generic, not like I want a police report, like we know that's going to go right to the police chief. But if it's something generic, now it goes out to all the different departments. Do you have anything, because it's specific to what is said in that FOIA. So if the words are, I want any and all records of 123 Main Street. So now and that may be a little too broad. They might push that back. Like, what actually do you want? You don't really mean, but let's just run through the thought experiment here with me on that. So I want all records for 123 Main. So now the clerk would send it to all of the different departments. So DPW, I need all records of anything you have on 123 Main. Finance department, I need all records of what you have on 123 Main. Fire department, I need all records you have on 123 Main.
And how does that person know what departments to go to?
The FOIA, that's the job of the FOIA coordinator.
Okay, so that's some.
They're the record keepers. They have to know where everything is.
So that's something you'd want the AI to know.
Oh, for sure. So
you almost have to learn.
This is kind of like the comparison. So here's kind of how it would roll out now, and then here's how it would look like with the AI. So now I'm spending time grabbing the records, fire chief spending time grabbing the records, police chief spending time grabbing the records, building, run through the list. So when you have these systems, so now you can see it's a tedious process. You're spending a lot of hours, a lot of people hours with everyone looking, filing, grabbing files.
I wasn't thinking about all the different departments having separate information a lot of times on the same question.
Like an address.
Sure, I wasn't thinking about
every
that.
time they went to a call at 123 Main, every time they went to a fire, a medical, those are all records that exist all over the place.
And then the FOIA administrator has to, the fire department didn't get back to me in time, and that has to be.
Oh, they make sure. They will make sure they answer because they have to.
Okay.
And if they don't, there will be problems.
Okay.
That is absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So everybody's sensitive to this. All the departments are sensitive to this.
Oh, yes. There's a lot of legal. We take FOIAs extremely seriously because there's so many rules and laws around it that you can't just be like, yeah, I don't have anything, and walk away. You will get in so much legal trouble if you blatantly. It's like criminal at that point.
And I knew that, but people are people, right? I couldn't find it. Here's what we have, that kind of thing. So even that alone, just from a liability standpoint, that making sure all the data's there, right? And AI is good at that. Let me go sift through to make sure you grabbed everything that's there.
Here's the difference then. So now we have the AI, the Agentic AI that is now given a task. I need any and all information on 123 Main, all records. Within about probably 10 seconds, it'll probably take longer to generate it than it will to actually do it. It will have already read. It has, let me back up one step because I want to talk about infrastructure real quick on this one. So if you do not have any computers in your office and you are all paper, the AIs will not help you. It cannot go through your physical filing cabinets to find documents.
And there's a few small communities out there going, yes, we're saved.
You get to do all of the work. You don't get any
shoot,
savings.
We're not saved.
No,
Wait.
You get to do all the work. So that's where you talk about like digitizing files and getting them into these databases and on the servers and all that sort of stuff so that you can have them electronically. The AI can read all the electronic documents in that. So let's assume that you're somewhat up to date on your IT. You have things are digitized. Your systems are all cloud, or you have access to all of your records, and everything are done on your ERP, your enterprise resource planning software, whatever system it is. So now the AI can take that, and since it can read and it has all of that information available to it, it will find every single document that has anything to do with 123 Main, and it will pull it all together into a file. So it'll make a folder. It will take all of that, and I'm talking everything. Like it'll organize it, right? Like I found these records from fire, so it'll make a fire folder with records in it, a police one with records in it, a building department one with records in it, finance with records in it, anything, dog licenses, right? Maybe there's a house at 123 Main and now it's got pet license information. So it'll grab all that, put it in the folder. Now it'll review, does any of this stuff have personal information, right? Social security numbers, anything that's FOIA does not let you have, because FOIA doesn't give you a free rein to everything.
Right.
So it's going to now review like, this one was medicals or maybe some police calls. Like, no, you don't get access to the names of the parties in this. So it'll start, then it'll go in, it'll redact all of those items. And then if it's unsure, maybe it'll put hey, need manual review or something to it because I can't quite tell. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, maybe, whatever that might be. So now that request comes in, and in a matter of a couple minutes, it has a folder, subfolders, and all the files amongst all the departments of everything for 123 Main Street, emails, files, picket, all done for you in a folder that's accessible. And we can even take that a step further. When it has that all in a file, in a folder, like it can make that even its own little custom, like, what do you want to know about 123 Main?
Sure.
Maybe like where I've seen that generic one before is where somebody's looking at buying a property. So they're really like, well, instead of spelling out like, I need environmental records and I need building records and I want to see, have there been any fires in this building? Is there any structural damage that may have had to been repaired and all that? So there's things that they tend to be more broad so that the requester doesn't miss information. Like, well, you only asked for environmental records. You didn't ask for fire. Well, I wanted records on the building. Well, but you didn't say fire records.
Right.
So when that building burned 17 times and it's like falling apart underneath the, covered up with, some new drywall and paint, you didn't realize that it was really like in a bad structure. So they just go, give me all records. Right. They usually make it more generic. So
and you want all the records because then your AI is going to go parse through that record data anyway.
That's exactly it.
I know a lot of people would love to have more information, but they don't want to cause the pain of FOIA-ing it.
Depends on who. Some people love it.
No, I get it. But I mean, if it's there and say, hey, you want any records, just come here and just ask. Here's the AI record keeper right here. You can just go in and ask. Really, that's fascinating to me, especially if it's parsed down. Like you said, it's already, like the information is segregated then. Hey, each time we get a new batch of information at the end of the day or a week, it gets fed into the FOIA group. Everything's removed that needs to be removed. Somebody's checking it. It's in there. Here's the database. Go ask your questions, and suck the information from here,
Because there are some communities that every time, there's not many, it's not the majority. In Michigan, I haven't seen it be that, but where they actually have a page on their website with all the FOIA requests and the responses. So they actually
that's cool.
You actually could go see what have people FOIA'd for and what did they get, and they actually post all of that on a page just so that I don't know that there's value in that necessarily, but I guess for entertainment purposes, like what are people looking for? Like it's there, and some of them have said like, well, if it's like some, I don't know, let's say it's an election season or something, we're going to get 10 FOIAs for the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So when we get the first FOIA, we put it together, we post it on the site, and now if we get another one, we go, it's on the website, go look. Like, we're not doing this process again.
Sure.
We're not re-looking again for all the records. We're not re-looking, it's just when they plop it all on there. But, now you have the AI that can actually review, not give out protected information. It keeps all that private. Yeah. So it kind of definitely changes what that looks like for sure.
No, that's cool. I think it's a perfect example of what we're talking about, right? And is that taking somebody's job? A little bit of the coordinator's position, but the coordinator's still going to have to look at all this information. And if anything's going to happen, you're going to get more requests.
And the AI, remember, and this is where I differ on some of the private views, you see these companies laying off people because they're integrating AI now, right? Like, oh, we have AI, I don't need as many people anymore, and they lay them all off. AI, from a management perspective, should be looked at as something like training and a tool. It's something you give your employees to help their jobs be easier. Because the more time you can free up for them, that's less people that you need to hire in the future, and you can reallocate their time to do more value add things, because a lot of times that institutional knowledge and all that gets lost if you're just going to lay everyone off every time there's some new AI breakthrough. You still need and want that. So I still think there's value, especially in government, it just starts getting you more efficient and more lean as you as you go forward.
And that's a question I'm sure you get when we do our talks is, what's going to happen years from now when you don't have the young people learning anything now, right? All that knowledge, when all that knowledge it leaves, what's going to replace it? And of course, I say, well, AI is going to replace. What are you talking about? No, but that's why we're trying to integrate it into our discussion here. It makes us smarter. We may think we are pretty good at this stuff, but man, it just makes me smarter, keeps me more motivated. Throwing ideas at you just kind of keeps the juices flowing. So, and that's why. But another perfect example of it just should produce more products or more ideas, or people like Etsy. More people will produce on Etsy or other areas where, hey, I didn't know I could find the end user and get paid for something like this. What a wonderful thing. It's already sort of happened to a certain extent. The internet did that. And or finding people who have the same interests as you and all that kind of stuff, right? And so that part of it is, I'm not sure people really understand.
And local government especially, because we're there to provide services. That's what we do. So it just means the more efficient and better we get, the more services we get to provide, the better services we get to provide. And that only makes government better and gets faith back restored in local government.
And yes, exactly. And people like it better, right? They're happier with what you're producing, right?
Yeah. All right, what's the next one, Scott?
The second one was the grant discovery.
All right, so grants.
And that's a long one, right? We could do one just on that alone.
We absolutely could, but let's say so here's how it would run with. Let's go with.
And I'll go through. I'll give you a quick one. How it works: monitors grants by category, just to give you some structure here. Matches keywords from city's capital plan. Drafts cover letters, project descriptions, and compliance responses, and then alerts relevant department heads for review and submission. I would argue that you've talked about too it goes and finds them and gives you odds. Like, the odds of you getting this grant are high or low or 20% or 80%,
Yep.
Do you want to waste your time? Or if you skewed it a little bit this way, or this is why this works better for you. I think that's just as important.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the thing to kind of keep in mind on the grants. So let's, I'm going to give kind of like the large view. So you have priorities in your community, right? Every community has priorities that's important to them. Maybe it's parks and rec, maybe it's housing, maybe it's environmental cleanup, maybe it's employment, maybe, whatever it is. There's going to be all sorts of different categories. So you have this AI, this agentic AI that knows enough, all that information about what you are trying to prioritize in your community. So now what it's going to do is it's going to be watching for those grants, and it's going to find those grants, and then it's going to go, hey, I just saw, let's say parks is important for your community. So you want to have some new parks. Hey, I found that there's these grants related to parks that we could buy or enhance or do new parks for you. And it'll review the program. It'll see if you're a match. Do you fit the criteria? A right size population? Is it only for less than 10,000 population? More than whatever the criteria is, it'll go and review all those things, and it'll say, hey, I got a good match on this one. And not only will it then grab the application, but then it'll fill out the application. And so you're just doing your normal daily work, and all of a sudden you're going to get a pop-up like, hey, I need your approval and signature for this grant. And you're going to go, all right, read more. So you're going to open it up, and it's going to say, hey, I found this parks grant. It's from the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Trust Fund. Here's the criteria. It's due in 2 weeks. I pulled all the information together and statistics for it. I wrote out a description. I got the sample from the Parks Master Plan, which said the city and voters and people and input, public hearings and all that, said that they wanted at this location, and I think it fits in the budget. And so I wrote it, and here's all the details. The only thing left is it needs a wet signature, so you're going to have to print this, physically sign it, the page, scan it back in, give it to me, and then I'll submit it to the DNR Trust Fund site.
Yeah.
That is the extent of anything you would have to do with it other than reviewing it, knowing that it did it, look at, make sure it's all factual. Yep, that all looks good. Yep, that is a priority. Yep, that's what we want to do here. And yeah, looks good. Sign, scan, attach, and say, here you go. Goes, thanks. I'll submit it right now and have a nice day. And that's the end of it. And you'll find out in, 6 months later on whether or not you got that grant or not.
No, my fear is that, and I get that certain communities are more into parks than others or prioritize that more. But if I'm just a community, I'm going to apply for every grant I possibly can, right? Say, hey,
why wouldn't you?
Of course, maybe parks is 6th on our list, but shoot, if you have money for parks, why not? So the danger is that if everybody turns this on, how are you going to get grants? And before it was only the people who were, smarter or had enough money to hire a grant writer, themselves, or just paid attention, right? Knew what's going on.
Because that can be expensive.
Absolutely.
That's why you don't see every community writing every single grant.
Right.
Because typically, the higher the amount of the grant, the more work that goes into it.
Sure.
A small grant under, I don't know, 20,000, 25,000, those could be a paragraph, especially the ones that are like 5,000. Those are literally, sometimes you have to tell us what you want to do with it and why. 300 characters is all you get to fill out. It's super basic.
Sure.
But you get into the hundreds of thousands, the millions of dollar grants. Now you're talking 100 hours of time that gets put into this. And the cost of it for grant writing matches, right? You might pay $1,500 on a smaller grant for $50,000, and you pay it whether you get the grant or not.
Right.
So you're always out every application, $1,500 or whatnot. To the larger ones where I've seen $25,000 to write certain grants, the ones that are just so complicated and have so much involved to put these things together, but you're asking for $5 million. So it's like,
right.
well, 20 grand and have a chance at $5 million, not a bad return if it works.
Right.
We'll take a chance, roll the dice, and see what happens. And to your point, though, if everyone is doing that, now it really becomes the criteria for the grant. Now you're scored. Because even if their AI, I want to see the DNR Trust Fund have an AI reviewing grants. Yeah. That'll be never.
Well, that's.
But So they're now going to look at criteria. Have we given you a grant before? Does it serve? What population does it serve? What's the value regionally? If it's the state, right? Like we have a lot of parks over here, but we have none over here, and there's a lot of people over here. So I'd rather get one. We want more parks over in this region.
Sure.
Now the subjective side comes into it, but everybody will have written it, so they now have to review all of them. 1,500 applications.
And so, first thought is, hey, the smaller communities, this is great for them, right? It's not fair that they can't afford this, or they lose the person who understood how this worked, and they just don't even know that's in the process. So, but at the same time, I would assume it's the laziness of people, right? Not only you want to use it to help you with the grants, but you might as well say, just go apply for everything that we can that's with above 50% or something. Why not?
Yep.
And then that'll stop because you won't get as many wins over time. And so it starts getting expensive and it'll kind of slow itself down. The other thing I was thinking of is I'm always amazed that the communities haven't gone to the local members to ask for money for a park or have a better system for doing that. So put something out to your community and say, hey, this is what we're trying to build. If you're donating money here, here, and here, consider putting some money this way or, paying a few extra tax dollars over here. And there's just many people with so much money. And they're trying to find places to do good with it. Why not in your same community? I know there are programs like this, but this might really help out. Hey, we're applying for this grant. It's $25,000 grant. We could really use 40 grand to redo this section. Anybody want to, and pitch in the extra 15? I would think people would line up for things like that. That it's real, it's right. You got money. I'm just supplementing it. It's not I'm not taking anybody else's money. You're not wasting any time, whatever. And then I get to walk to this thing and see it, right? Or say I'm helping my community. So just little things like that.
I think you're right on with that, and I think there's oftentimes a misconception that like a lot of things like, oh, go get a grant for it, right? And sometimes you see it as almost like a, you know what, if somebody wants to give us money to do it, then we'll do it, right? And the things that always bug me about those is either it's important to the community or it isn't.
Sure.
And if it's important to the community, then you should be trying to fund it, not just if somebody wants to give you money, grant, but you should be like, no, this is, if it's really important, it's important to the community. So we should be looking at exactly what you're saying. We should be telling everybody what we're trying to get money for and why. And no, we don't want to raise taxes because no one will ever do that. That is a non-starter to begin with. So if the community, if we, city, thinks it's important, the elected officials are elected by the people, so they probably mirror that it's important to the community as well. Yeah. And there's always, I don't care what community it is, how much money it has or it doesn't have, there are people in every single one of those communities that would be doing exactly what you said. Oh, I would love to, I grew up in this town and I would love to be able to, oh man, that was a great park, in the corner and it got run down and I'd love to see that come back again. I'll donate, $20,000 to it. That is in every single community, whether it's a business owner, property owners, a resident that, grew up there, the family's there, they left, they're making it big in AI in Silicon Valley and San Francisco, pick one. And then they're like, hey, I want to give back, right? Like I have these foundations, I started foundations and I want to give back and where else better than your community that you grew up in or took part in, and you can still make a difference doing it.
And something like AI with that information, you just feel better doing it, right? If you know where it's going. It's hard to give money to, I'll just pick on the Salvation Army, for example, and you just never know where it's going, the end user. It'd feel a lot better if you kind of knew it. So that's another, all these things have these offshoots to them, right? Where AI can't just help you write grants. It might help you get to your community and understand what the grants are or figure out what your community wants to spend money on, as well as raising extra dollars.
And it's really good at that. That is the thing too. It is really good at finding all that out. So, if all
right, we
kind of hit a few topics on what that would look like today for the agentic and local government. The list can go on and on. I mean, you had things from everything from
we're going to keep going on
budgeting to. I mean, there's really, what I found most interesting is you almost have to invent of ways that you can't use it. Right, like they go, I'm sure you get this when you present. Right, we both present all over the country to all these different groups and organizations and governments, and they're always like, well, what can you do with it? And I've been saying now this last year, I go, it's what can't you do with it? Right. I go, I have not yet found one example to where I can't use the AI to make it better. There's not one. And every time I just sit there and I go, how can I use AI for this? And I think about it, I use it, and I come up with a way, and I go, man, this turned out great. Every single time.
Or you think, I wish I had the product that had AI on it that I could use to make this easier, right?
Exactly. So, all right. Well, with that, another riveting episode here on Agentic AI. A couple examples there for local units. So thanks for joining us, and stay tuned. We'll see you next time.